On Tech News Today, major news today in the world of mobile payments from Samsung, Apple, and Google. Plus, a major blogging platform gets hit with malware. And guess which headphone maker is prepping a new music service? We'll tell you all about it next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, December 16th, 2014. This episode is brought to you by Braintree. If you're a developer or manager of a mobile app and searching for the right payments API, check out Braintree. Braintree's new V.0 SDK makes it easy to support multiple mobile payment types with one simple integration. To learn more and to try out their sandbox, go to BraintreePayments.com/twit. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll now have many more happy holidays as you grow and protect your wealth with this award-winning financial app. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/TNT. Tech News Today is a show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan, and welcome to you, Jason Cleanthes. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Mike. How you doing?
Doing great, and you are doing a fantastic job as the producer of this show and doing the TD. And I thank you for doing that. It's very, very hard. It's a very difficult transition. And you and I have both learned how to fly airplanes. And it's not unlike that, although doing TDing a show like this is actually more dangerous.
That is true.
So just wanted to get your commentary on that. All right. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get through this show and all future shows without injuries or incident. And with us today as co-anchor is Joe Panettieri. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. I'm always happy to be here on a Tuesday, and I'm always preparing for your one-liners to see if there's any way I can shoot something back real fast. But how you been?
I've been great. I'm really excited because Jason set up the new Joe Cam, so now I have the 24/7 look into your office. And it's exciting. It's exciting material. I like what you're doing there.
Yeah, it's quite an empire here. So yeah, thank you for setting up the cam.
A lot of typing. You know, it's very exciting. Well, the thing of the day today is that Google published their most popular search terms in 2014, and in a stunning global tribute to comedian and actor Robin Williams, his name is the #1 search term of the year. Pretty amazing stuff. And I love this, Joe Panettieri. I don't know if you check these out every year, but it really shows the zeitgeist of what's going on in the world. The top searches overall are Robin Williams, World Cup, Ebola, Malaysia Airlines, ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So, you know, some of the trendy things, the big news of Robin Williams passing, of course, dominated, but also, you know, major global events, major global diseases, and major global mysteries and catastrophes.
Yeah, good news, bad news. Let's start with the bad news. Neither you nor I are on the list, Mike, but that's also the good news, because to make the list, you either have to unfortunately pass or have something tragic happen to you, or maybe have photos of yourself hacked, or be involved in terrorism. So it's a mixed blessing, that list. But yeah, I certainly check it out every year. Not
wearing clothes helps a lot. The number 1, 2, and 2 people on the list are Jennifer Lawrence and Kim Kardashian. Also on that list is Tracy Morgan, who had a catastrophic accident, and actress Renee Zellweger. They have categories for the top athletes. The top consumer electronics, #1 was iPhone 6, #2, Samsung Galaxy S5, #3, the Nexus 6, #4, the Moto G, and #5, the Samsung Note 4. Now, 4 out of 5 are Android devices, so that was pretty interesting. And
no mention of Amazon Fire there, huh?
Well, I'm shocked, I tell you. Yeah, that's probably. I'm sure it's on the list. It's probably in the quadruple digits, but. Just a guess. Now, this is really an interesting way to look at what people globally are thinking about. And the #1 YouTube video is actually the Mutant Giant Spider Dog. That was a great video. I don't know if you saw that, but somebody dressed their little dog up into a giant spider and then scared people to death in the middle of the night. So that was good material. Nice viral video there. Well, why don't we get into the news? We have massive news in the world of mobile payments and also online payments. Recode is reporting that Samsung is talking to a payment startup that might help the company unveil an Apple Pay alternative. The startup is called LoopPay, and according to one Recode source, a prototype of the payment system has already been created. LoopPay is technology called magnetic secure transmission, which basically spoofs a credit card but without swiping anything at the point of sale. Because LoopPay supports ordinary checkout systems, it works in more locations than either Apple Pay or Google Wallet. An earlier report on Recode suggested that Samsung might also add NFC to LoopPay, even further expanding options for checkout. And that report was written by Walt Mossberg, and at the time, the unnamed company wasn't specified, but now I think it seems like pretty likely that was Samsung talking to them about adding NFC. And of course, this whole deal is not a done deal. They even have Jason Del Rey even has a source that says it could fall apart, but still, it's clear that Samsung wants to get on the mobile payment system because Apple is going to run away with all the money.
Yeah, you almost wonder if we're looking at, a two-pronged standard, much in the way that we have an iOS standard versus an Android standard in the mobile world. Our payment's going to go the same way, basically payment technology locked to the Apple platform versus payment technology locked to the Android platform. And I'm also curious to know, Mike, just how much runway competitors have here because, as you've pointed out in recent broadcasts, Apple is gaining momentum with Apple Pay. And I think it was just today that the company announced additional banks and retail stores and startups jumping on the Apple Pay bandwagon. So, you might have a duopoly standard emerging here, and I'm curious to see if there's any way others can muscle into this market, or if it's really, the classic Apple versus Google versus and maybe Samsung along for the ride strategy here.
Yeah, when technologies like this first become sort of threaten to become mainstream, as this is definitely happening, it's really exciting. It's like, wow, finally, people like you and me have been waiting for this for a decade. And every year we're like, where is it? Where is it? And finally, it's really here. I think to a large extent, thanks to Apple and Apple Pay, because they really made a big push for this. And now everyone is scrambling to really make it happen. But I think the truth is, the tragic fact is that in 3 or 4 years, it'll be a banality. Smartphones will simply function as credit cards no matter what. And if you're on the iPhone platform, you use Apple Pay. And if you're on something else, you use something else. And one way or the other, it's going to all work more or less like Apple Pay because they've really nailed the right way to do it. You put your fingerprint on the fingerprint reader and you tap your phone on the thing and you've paid. And so that's really the gold standard for the process at point of sale for buying things with a smartphone. And it looks like, LoopPay will enable Samsung phones to do that. Google Wallet is getting there. I mean, right now the Google Wallet process is it's like a 7 or 8 or 9 step process. It's vastly more involved than an Apple Pay payment, but of course they'll get to the point where it's just a single tap or something like that. And of course, the fingerprint authentication is really a really nice feature. Well, we have additional news in the world of mobile payments. Apple today announced that the company has signed dozens more banks, retail stores, and startups to support Apple Pay, and they're now claiming that the cards represent about 90% of the credit card purchase volume in the United States. I don't know if that puts them ahead of or still behind LoopPay, but it's clear that they're signing up people. And of course, this is the Apple model. You get so much momentum behind what you're doing that companies would be nuts to not go along with it. You don't want to be the only company that doesn't support Apple Pay, and so this is kind of inevitable. And I'm sure that the percentage is going to creep toward 100% over the next year. Apple Pay is really kind of interesting to me, Joe, because it's so easy to use. Yet I go to a lot of retailers. I always ask if they support it, and we talk about Apple Pay all the time. We're kind of obsessed with it on this network, as with many other technology topics. But I go to the store, and the person behind the cashier just kind of looks at me like I'm speaking another language. What do you talk? What is Apple Pay? I don't know what that is, which is kind of astonishing. And so, if you can reach the thing, you can probably process the payment even without their knowledge or cooperation. But I don't know. I don't know if you've used or seen Apple Pay in action live.
Yeah, sure. So I think you got 2 trends going on here. Number one, I think we're going to need some retailers, major retailers. They need to come out and say just how many transactions are happening over Apple Pay. That'll force the hand of rival retailers to get on board in terms of promoting the fact that they offer it. I mean, it's sort of like the feature's there, but the point of sale employees don't even know about it, as you point out. So I think as a few retailers start to talk about the number of transactions that are happening over Apple Pay, more and more retailers will trumpet that type of news. Part two is I think we're going to hear, obviously, about more hacks this retail season, particularly in point of sale and retail areas. And as those happen, there's going to be no excuse for not having some sort of encryption at the point of sale location, and then for those retailers to be speaking with Apple, Samsung, Google, et cetera. So I think the combination of success and failure, ironically enough, is going to drive those retailers to get on board.
Definitely. Well, Google also getting into the act here. Google introduced a new feature on Google Wallet for iOS that lets you split the check as long as both parties are using Google Wallet for iOS. So, for example, Joe, you and I could go out to lunch. I could have the Brussels sprouts and the green tea, and you could have the T-bone steak and a couple of scotches, and we could split it, right? And if you have Apple Pay, we just say, okay, well, this is what you had, and then you pay for yours and I pay for mine. This is kind of a cool feature. This is pretty much how it should work. It's a form of networking. And interestingly, I think one of the interesting things about this is this helps Google establish signals. If you're splitting a check with someone, that means you've probably got a pretty good relationship. It's evidence that they know exactly with identity who is having lunch with each other. So it's kind of a nice way to harvest signals.
Yeah, and they've also confirmed that I'm a carnivore thanks to the information you share.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna be getting meat ads. So
yes,
look for that. Okay, and somewhat related news, Google's planning to add a Buy Now button to shopping search results, according to an exclusive in the Wall Street Journal. The move is a direct strike against arch rival Amazon, sort of. When clicked, the button takes you to third-party retailers, but the Journal says the company will in the future insert Google Shopping as a middleman for purchases. Google's also planning a membership service to compete with Amazon Prime that guarantees 2-day shipping. I don't know about you, Joe, but 2-day shipping ain't going to cut it. Amazon's working on same-day shipping.
Yeah, same-day shipping. We talked about all those bike riders in New York who are going to be delivering for Amazon. So especially in the major metropolitan areas, we're now down to hours in terms of delivery rather than days. But you know, Mike, the familiar theme every time I come onto the show and as I watch other episodes that you're hosting each day, it is faster transactions, number one, and secure transactions, number two. And it seems like the cycle is just getting faster and faster and faster.
It absolutely is. And, you know, Amazon really has to be given a lot of credit because their shipping is so fast and so reliable. You know, I've criticized Amazon a lot, but, man, they really nail the shipping. Sometimes I go to another site and I order something, and, you know, it's just stunning how often they get the order wrong, how long it takes to arrive, how much it costs. You know, a Prime membership on Amazon, I just click a button, it knows my address, it has my credit card. It arrives the next day. It's just without incident. And that's really the standard that everybody is scrambling to achieve, and it seems like nobody else can. Even Google, even mighty Google, is trying to struggle to someday maybe kind of have 2-day shipping. And so, you know, of course, they don't have warehouses. They don't have robots in those warehouses and all that stuff that Amazon has, which gives them multiple advantages. Google's trying to hook this up with third-party retailers, but still, I mean, as a consumer, that's one of the reasons people buy stuff on Amazon, because you just know it's going to get here tomorrow. It's so easy.
You know it's going to get here tomorrow. Plus, you know, if you rewind the clock a little bit and look back on the calendar, it was American Express that always talked about membership has its privileges. It's almost like Amazon has hijacked that exact theme with Prime. I mean, for me, the Prime membership is something that will never lapse, just because it would stop our e-commerce here at home, and our entire economic cycle at home would not function anymore without Prime.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're now selling diapers so cheap that I'm actually thinking about having another child. That's how cheap they are. It's amazing. Well, in just a sec, we're going to talk about a new malware out there. Another day, another malware attack. But first, I want to tell you about Braintree. If you've got a mobile app and you want a payment system, Braintree is the place to go, because they'll give you an app that's super, super easy to integrate. Developers don't have to worry about taking days to integrate payments. With Braintree, it takes minutes, literally minutes, like less than 10 minutes. Give them a call and they'll even handle the integration for you and walk you through it. The Braintree code supports Android, iOS, and JavaScript clients, and they have SDKs in 7 languages, including, of course, Java, Python, Ruby, and others. Braintree is known for their back-end security, of course. We're always talking about security on this show, and security is the most important thing, in my opinion. And they offer merchant protection. They use tokenized payments, so your credit card information of your users isn't passed on to the merchant server where all these hacks take place. It's passed right on to the financial company, and so it's super, super secure. Braintree is the fastest, easiest, and most secure way to pay, and there is nothing else like it out there. If you're searching for the right payments platform, check out the Braintree V.0 SDK today at braintreepayments.com/twit. Review their documentation, play around in their sandbox, and after you integrate Braintree, the first $50,000 in transactions are fee-free. That's braintreepayments.com/twit. Joe, people wonder why I blog on Google Plus instead of a major blogging platform. Well, one reason is malware. You're going to tell us why I'm right to blog on Google Plus.
Yeah, I've certainly been going the Google Plus direction myself lately. But the malware you're talking about is out on WordPress, and it's not WordPress itself. It's actually related to a plugin for WordPress. And the real hit here is that Google is starting to blacklist many of the sites that are infected with the malware. So let's go over the numbers first. Soak is a form of malware, and there are sources now saying that Soak has basically infected roughly 100,000 WordPress sites. And it sounds like Google has so far blacklisted about 11,000 of those WordPress sites. So imagine if you ran a major media site, Mike, or an e-commerce site, and suddenly you're blacklisted by Google. There's no faster way to get a malware infection cleaned up across an industry than the actual blacklist from Google, because suddenly everyone's in a panic about their business going dark thanks to Google, raising the red flag about you. Now, this malware, the irony of it is this isn't quote unquote new. A company called Sucuri, S-U-C-U-R-I, they claim they've known about this vulnerability since about September. And it's not WordPress itself, it's a plugin. And where things get really nasty, Mike, is a lot of WordPress amateurs, they'll go out and purchase a theme, sort of a template for WordPress, and it'll use that plugin without even knowing that it's infected. And they won't even know that the plugin's there. And I think that's why this problem spiraled out of control for 2 months.
Yeah, definitely. The plugin is called Slider Revolution. And, as you say, it comes bundled in themes. This is one of the most popular plugin, actually, that's bundled in multiple themes. So lots of website owners have it. And so this is, as you've said, this is the dangerous thing about this. The website owners don't know they have malware on their site, and the visitors to their site don't know they're getting malware for this site. This is all about infecting the visitors and the readers of blogs. And so this is just something that's out there, and people are pretty much unaware of it. And thank goodness that Google's flagging a lot of these things. They've done 11,000 so far. Now, I've also seen reports, and I'm hearing in multiple places that the 100,000 websites, that it could be much higher than that, actually. And so this could be this is a problem that we really don't know the scale of it. We don't know the scope of it. And so hopefully we'll get some good news about this. And again, WordPress users using Slider Revolution should update the Slider Revolution itself. That's one of the first things you can do to secure yourself. And Sucuri offers a free site check scanner that detects the existence of the malware. And so that's a kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know how common WordPress-like malware is on platforms like this.
It's pretty common.
Yeah.
It's pretty common, actually. We ran, in a prior life, my business partner, Amy Katz, and I ran on WordPress from about 2008 to 2011. Overall, we loved it, but it was a lot like working with, Windows Server. You have to make sure that your patches are updated. And in a former life, I covered an industry known as managed service providers. And I think for the WordPress users out there, what you really want to do is hire a service provider that's doing all that patching and maintenance for you on a monthly basis, and also checking for rogue administrator accounts on your system. That's one of the first telltale signs. Suddenly, user accounts that you didn't create are backdoors into your system are popping up, and you want to make sure that you've got a third party that's checking for that at least monthly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Yelp shipped a new iOS and Android app for business owners that lets them interact with customers on Yelp. Yelp for Business Owners is the name of the app. Lets you see activity and customer leads over the past 30 days and respond to customers or reply to reviews either publicly or privately. Greg Sterling wrote about the news for Marketing Land, and he joins us now. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Now, what else can business owners do with this app besides monitoring activity and interacting with customers?
Well, that's the basic functionality right now. I mean, what Yelp says is that over time you'll be able to update your profile and enhance it, add photographs, and potentially launch promotions. But for the time being, the core functionality is tracking activity on your account and then responding to reviews privately or publicly, and messaging potential customers. And that's a really big deal, that the latter part about messaging, because Yelp added that functionality earlier this year for the PC profile. You can send a private message to the business owner and ask a question. Hey, are you available next week? Or whatever the particular question is. Do you have the item in stock? And they can respond to you. The challenge for business owners is that they're not sitting in front of the PC all day. So by having this be enabled on a mobile device through an app, they can get a notification and respond to you in a much more timely way, which means more business for them, a better experience for you, and overall sort of more value holistically for everybody in the system.
So, Greg, is this similar to maybe Yelp hijacking features and functions from the Google world, from the Facebook world, from the Twitter world? And what I mean by that is, it sounds like these features you're talking about reminds me of how Google Analytics came along to help you sort of manage and monitor the activity on your website, and how Facebook and Twitter came along to let you private message or one-on-one message with various customers and or peers. Is Yelp trying to take the best of those third-party platforms and activate them on their own platform?
Well, I mean, I think the short answer is yes. I mean, people look around and see what works on the internet or in mobile and are trying to implement that. I mean, this is, even if those things didn't exist, this is a logical extension of what they're doing on the PC. So I think it's not, it's not so much that they're trying to steal somebody else's functionality. It's that they're seeing useful tools and they're just incorporating them into their app.
Is there anything there, Greg, for advertisers who advertise on Yelp?
Yes, there is some data that you can see about ad performance, I believe. I haven't used the app, and also, as I said, in the future there'll be an advertising element, so you can initiate promotions, and I'm sure over time there'll be a deeper integration with advertising. But for now, it's pretty light. They're not promoting ads. Eventually, they'll probably use it as a channel to upsell people into ads and give them additional functionality.
Okay, fantastic. Greg Sterling is at searchengineland.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at @gsterling. Thanks for joining us, Greg.
Thanks very much, you guys.
Microsoft has great technology, and I love it, Joe, when they actually build that technology into their products.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what Microsoft's trying to do here is move the user interface conversation forward beyond multi-touch. And what we're talking about is they're beta testing a quote-unquote gestures capabilities on the Lumia Windows phone devices. And basically what this video here shows is, without really using the multi-touch screen, the way you move the device begins to control how the device performs. By placing it face up on the table, as we're seeing right there, it basically goes out into a speakerphone mode automatically. And then by turning it upside down there, it mutes anything else going on around you. When he picks it back up, later on in the video, he's actually picking up another phone call. So it's pretty interesting what they're doing here. And the whole idea is, what's the next wave and how will it unfold for us beyond the multi-touch user interface? One
of the quirky things about this news is that the app is called Gestures Beta. The word beta is actually part of the name of the product, which tells me, or at least suggests to me, that this is not going to be a product. They're essentially beta testing these features that are then going to be built into Windows Phone. That would be a rational thing for them to do, to just build them right into the phone. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can silence a call. And do you know how you do that? I mean, the ideal way would be to, just wave your hand over it like a Jetta. I'm not the droid you're looking for. Go away.
I think it may have been, in one of those cases, I think it may have been just turning over the phone and placing it face down. One of the gestures involves muting the phone. Another is silencing the phone. So it may have been the face down. I have not beta tested the beta. So I don't know yet. But, I'm curious to see. And I think, on the one hand, is it revolutionary? Not particularly. Apple, since iOS 7, has offered some gestures controls based on head movements. And then we're also seeing in the Android world, particularly for people or users who don't have use of their hands or fingers, we are seeing a lot of head movement and gesture control technology coming out in that area as well. So I think in some cases, these will be niche uses for special needs people. In other cases, they'll be mainstream for all people.
Yeah, definitely. And the bigger picture is that these phones are learning to understand what state they're in. Are they in a pocket? Right. Is it up next to your head? Is the user actually talking and listening with the device? Are you moving? Are you in a car? Google has some great technology. Google/Motorola has or had some technology where it knows you're in a car, and basically when people call you, it has options that are rational for somebody who might be driving. And so that's just fantastic. The fact that the phone knows what it's doing or what you're doing with the phone is just great. It makes everything easier. Well, Google's answer to Apple's iBeacon system just got its first hardware supporter. A Turkish company called Blesh is now selling Bluetooth beacon hardware for Google's physical web initiative. Their product includes 3 Bluetooth beacons that support Google's URI beacon standard, all for $50. The small stick-on devices broadcast either a unique identifier or a standard HTTP URL over Bluetooth Low Energy. This is great to see Google getting into the beacons racket. I really love the whole beacons concept. I think there's huge amounts of upside potentially there. And it's, typical Google response to a typical Apple thing. Apple's thing is they have very, very solid but limited use cases for iBeacons. And they are heavily pushing them on developers and retailers, and they're making deals and doing all this stuff. It's a very big, official, strong program where they're really laying the groundwork. Google comes out with this, here's a standard anybody can use. And it's, the things you can do with the physical web technology and URI beacon is far more flexible than what you can do with iBeacon. But again, it doesn't have the big Apple push behind it because it's Google just throwing it out there and having people use it. And of course, Blesh is already a major iBeacon maker, and so Google's way behind on this. But again, I'm very, very bullish on beacons.
Yeah, and it pays to be bullish on beacons right now. Prime example would be Macy's, the huge retailer, just a few weeks ago talked about beacon momentum within their stores. And Mike, if you tie this all back to Apple Pay, Google Wallet, imagine beacon technology being universal in retail stores or in airports or in stadiums. And then those beacons basically are homing in on your phone, and then maybe you make a purchase. Now the retailer and or the business owner can see the entire life cycle. When you came into the store, how you interacted, where you went, what you purchased. It's a very rich, detailed, big data application, 360 degrees, sort of cradle to grave as the consumer there.
Now, we have some breaking news coming from the Apple trial and the iPod antitrust trial that we've been reporting on, and the jury has ruled in favor of Apple in that case. If you recall, the accusation was that Apple was unfairly meddling around with music files that came from other music players other than Apple's own iTunes, and Apple defended itself, saying, first of all, it was lousy technology. Second of all, it didn't affect anyone, and they seem to have prevailed. The jury has ruled in favor of Apple. Wow, that was fast. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, Mike, it was fast, and I think one of the problems is this case came about in the court system years after it mattered. Apple basically cannibalized its own market, destroying iPods with the iPhone, et cetera. And there simply weren't enough strong plaintiffs, I think, in terms of mounting a case against Apple in this area.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, let's move on to our next story. Consumers may wonder what Microsoft's Azure is good for, Joe, but it looks like Microsoft's preparing an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the consumer side, when you think of Azure, you say, well, what could this be for? Azure is Microsoft's public cloud. A lot of companies are moving database applications, really complex enterprise systems up to Azure. But what if Microsoft began to offer streaming content from Azure, such as potentially games that stream out to Windows devices, that stream out to Apple iOS devices, that stream out to Android devices. That's the chatter from ZDNet's Mary Jo Foley, and very intriguing in terms of here's Microsoft's latest step to reach out to mobile devices without necessarily having to write millions of applications for all those devices. They'll just support it from Azure.
Yeah, and why not? Why is only music streaming? I mean, why not do this? They have the infrastructure for it, and I just think it's a very, very cool story. Now, Mary Jo Foley, of course, is a host of Windows Weekly, and I'm sure she's going to be talking a lot about this tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch live at live.twit.tv. So, yeah, wonderful story, and yet another scoop by Mary Jo Foley. She is just awesome. Well, in just a sec, we have some updates for you, but first I want to tell you about Personal Capital. You want to get your money in order, you're going to make a New Year's resolution, and you should, to make more money and keep more of the money you've already made for next year. Personal Capital is going to help you do it, and the way they do it is they'll take all the information that you have in different accounts all over the internet, and you bring them together into simple, intuitive graphs and charts so you can really see what's happening with your money. An intuitive financial dashboard, just like professional financial people have, you can have it with your own finances. And of course, Personal Capital is the way to grow your wealth because you can eliminate mutual fund and 401k fees that are unnecessary and other hidden brokerage fees. There's so many fees involved in this stuff. That's how they make their money. They have all these gotcha fees, and Personal Capital will let you get them back by avoiding those fees. And so you're starting out with a service that is free that actually pays you money because you're going to be avoiding all these unnecessary fees. So why wait? Take control of your financial future and make it one of your resolutions for 2015. Personal Capital gives you total clarity and transparency to make better investment decisions. To set up your free account, go to personalcapital.com/TNT. And Personal Capital is free, and it is the smart way to grow your money. And we thank Personal Capital for their support of Tech News Today. Well, Bose might be getting into the streaming music racket for some reason. The company posted a job listing on ZipRecruiter for a senior designer to help Bose create the next generation streaming music platform and an ecosystem of products to go with it. Full disclosure, ZipRecruiter is an occasional sponsor of Tech News Today. Joe Panettieri, what are they, nuts? I mean, come on, this train has already left the station.
The train's left the station, but I think what Bose is dealing with here is they're sort of like the Cadillac of the headphone market in that, or they're really high quality, but they're not very hip with the younger crowd. And I think they're actually the lead sponsor in the NFL, and yet you see the players all the time getting fined for wearing other headsets. Yeah,
and definitely they all want to wear Beats, of course. And of course, there's lots of controversy that we've reported on here, and they all want to use iPads, but they're also using Windows Surface tablets because it's part of a big deal. And then there was a controversy where the announcers were saying, "Well, he's got an iPad there," and they're like, "No, we spent a fortune so that you wouldn't say they have iPads."
Yeah, the iPad-like device.
The iPad-like device that they're using, which nobody uses.
It's like a Beats-like headphone set from Bose.
That's right. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Trey Cowherd, who posted this picture on Google+. Trey is a recently signed musician who creates really awesome electronic music. You should check out his YouTube channel and his Google+ page there. You see that he's got a keyboard behind his keyboard. He makes music with that keyboard. And we appreciate him being a fan of Tech News Today. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. And use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it. Well, that is the Tech News Today. Joe Panettieri, you always have a really sweet plug for what you're up to. Don't disappoint me, man. What are you up to?
This one's good for entrepreneurs who also work with their family members. Tonight on our podcast at 9:01 p.m. Eastern on after9s.com/CEO. If you jump out there, there'll be a podcast with Chris Chase. He's an entrepreneur. He's built a 40-person IT marketing company, and yet quite a few family members are involved. And the conversation really focuses on how do you build a successful business with family members involved without winding up killing each other.
Your site looks so good, I'd almost think it was made with Squarespace. Wow.
That is the rumor, and we do not have any malware on it, unlike the WordPressed camp this week.
All right, Joe. Well, thank you so much, and we have a holiday next week, so we'll see you sometime in the future. Thank you so much for co-anchoring today.
Always great to be here, Mike. Take care.
All right, fantastic. I want you to subscribe to Tech News Today. Why? Because it's super easy, and you make sure you always have Tech News Today. You want to be the smartest kid in the class when it comes to technology, and you get there by subscribing to Tech News Today. Just go to twit.tv/TNT. Choose your favorite way to subscribe. You can have multiple subscriptions if you want on your desktop, on your phone, on another phone, whatever. However you like to get it, the audio, the video, it's all there. So many options for you to subscribe. Twit.tv/TNT. And we want you to follow us on Twitter, Tech News Today TV, and you can subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. And please send us your thoughts and opinions by email to tnt@twit.tv or by phone at 260-TNT Show. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.